that meeting, the district attorney's office reviewed our case and information and solidified their decision to move forward on this case. Today is not the day for celebration, nor does it mark the end of this investigation. Rather, it's the next step in this very difficult yet very important journey as we seek justice for Suzanne and her family. I know how deeply this case has impacted our community over the past 12 months. Through multiple conversations I've had with our citizens across the county, one message is clear from everyone, and that's that they wanted answers and they wanted justice for Suzanne. Although I'm not able to offer specific details, I want to assure the community that every action our investigators took in the past year led to today's arrest. This arrest would not be possible without the assistance of our supporting law enforcement agencies, which include the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and of course the 11th Judicial District Attorney, Linda Stanley, and members of her office. Before District Attorney Linda Stanley speaks, I want to extend my deep appreciation to our community for their support they've shown us for over the past year. While this has been a trying time for our citizens, I've seen our community rally around one another and our investigative team. I'd now like to introduce District Attorney Linda Stanley.
My name is Linda Stanley. I'm the District Attorney for the 11th Judicial District, which includes Fremont County, Custer, and Chaffee counties total. I wanted to say that thanks for being here for everybody, and there's a couple of things I'd like to address about this case. First, the investigation is still ongoing. Suzanne, her body has not been found, and we are still looking into that. The investigation is ongoing. Second, Barry Morphew is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's important to remember. Third, the arrest affidavit is sealed at this time. I cannot and will not discuss it. Fourth, all media inquiries from this date forward should go through my office. However, I'm sure you all are aware and know that we cannot talk about any open or active investigation, and that is per the rules of professional conduct that we will abide by. Lastly, I wanted to say that today is a good day. It's a good day for all of the men and women in law enforcement that have tirelessly worked toward getting here. They worked day in and day out, sacrificing more than any of you will ever know. They even continued working and continued their sacrifices as they were being raked over the coals and second-guessed as to their skills and abilities. I'm standing here in front of you on this good day because they never quit. Sheriff Speasy and his deputies at the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, Alex Walker, investigator for the 11th Judicial District, those two individuals and Sheriff Speasy's office in particular are consummate professionals and, quite frankly, some of the best I've ever worked with in my entire professional career. They followed every lead, every tip, and every unanswered question, no matter what direction it led them in. They never compromised the integrity of the investigation. On several occasions over the last few months after I was sworn in on January 12th of this year, I met with these professionals and went through hours and hours of their meticulous investigation. Their investigation was presented to our office just a few weeks ago. For me, today is a good day, but for my office, this is where the work begins. There's more work to be done. However, this is an important and incredibly crucial step. And today is a good day for Suzanne. As far as I'm concerned, today is all about Suzanne. And it's about her family. And it's about all the individuals that knew her and loved her and cared about her. That's what this day is about. And it's a good day. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and take some questions now.
Can you tell us?
Right, turn the way.
Thank you. Can I please, the district attorney, if you don't mind. You're not releasing the affidavit. You don't have a body. How can you prove to the members of the public that you have a strong case?
For those that didn't hear the question, he said, we're not releasing the affidavit and we don't have a body, so how can I convince the public that we have a strong case? That's my job. I'm the one that considers how strong my case is before I bring charges, and I wouldn't bring charges unless I was confident.
Suzanne has been missing for nearly a year now. What made you take this step today as opposed to any time in the past year?
Who's that directed to?
Either one.
Would you repeat the question, please? Kinda.
Yeah. If I can have you stand in front of the microphone, just make sure
Yeah.
that you pick it up. Suzanne has been missing for nearly a year. What made you take this step today as opposed to any time in the past year?
It's been a culmination of our investigation over the past year. Honestly, it kind of oversimplifies. Today is just any other day. It's been our investigation over the past year that got us where we are today, and based on other information we gathered, we acted on it. Today became the day, but it's been a culmination of everything we've gained over the past year. And I know for everybody here, you say, well, that's hard to understand that because we haven't said so much about the investigation. That's what's so important about this investigation that got us here today, is the amount of everything that's gone into this and what's brought us here, and the ability to remain silent and do the very best we can to put the best case forward. All of that led us to where we are today.
This can also be for the sheriff. You made this arrest today, and you've been searching for Suzanne Morphew for a year. Is there any indication today that she is not alive anymore as your search continues?
And repeat the question if you could.
The question is if we've been searching for her and we hadn't found her, and if there's any indication that she wasn't alive today. Is that correct? Well, we believe that she's not alive. We've filed first-degree murder charges, or we're in the process of filing first-degree murder charges. So our belief is Suzanne is not alive at this time.
Sheriff Spacey, talk about how when you pressed charges today, when in your investigation did you know that she was no longer alive? And when did you change to, it was no longer a missing persons case that you were dealing with, it was now a homicide?
You know, that's actually a really good question. I'm sorry. It's a good question in that it's not, the light bulb moment doesn't happen overnight. It's when you begin an investigation, you start collecting information, you gain more information, and as you go along, you continually assess what you're doing, and as time goes by, you start eliminating certain things and start bringing in other things, and as you progress, you go from one point to another and you make realizations, and so your investigation is always, it never ends till it's over, and you're constantly learning things, and so you go from what you believe here to what we present now. And so it's a process, and it's been a long process, been a very tedious process.
Was there a date or a time?
Yeah, Jen Munro, fellow voice. I know that District Attorney Sanders said the warrant is overall sealed. So could we let them know what's been charged with?
Jan, you're Jan, right?
Yeah.
That was in the early press release we put out. Did it not have the charge?
I don't think it came up in the original.
Okay.
Chance, could you read all the charges?
I don't have them with me. Do you have them? Where's Alex? Yeah.
The question was asking what the charges were. It was first-degree homicide. It was tampering with evidence and attempting to influence a public servant.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Sure. Is Mr. Morphew being held here at the facility now?
The question is if Mr. Morphew is in our detention facility. Barry Morphew is in the Chaffey County Detention Facility.
And then what are the next steps? When will he make a first appearance, etc.? Or do we not know?
Question was, what is the next step and when is his first appearance? Tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning will be his advisement, where any arguments on his bond will be heard.
Can you give an
All right. Well, there you have it. The
and sorry about that, folks.
folks. Obviously, we're having overall technical difficulties here. I'll be sure to
Can we
bring up
turn
the
that?
feed once it comes back.
All right.
This is happening in Salida, not the best area for reception.
All right, so there you have it. As of 9:50 this morning, Barry Morphew was arrested for the death of his wife, Suzanne Morphew, who's obviously been missing since May 10th of 2020, which was Mother's Day, and Mother's Day is rapidly approaching this weekend. So it's a little poetic justice, you must say, for sure. Now, the district attorney, Linda Stanley, and I was just looking her up, she's recently elected to the district attorney's office down there, and she's going to be the one prosecuting the case. It looks like they have the district attorney, a deputy district attorney, and about 4 or 5 other prosecutors. There may be more, but their website is somewhat limited. Anyway, the district attorney mentioned that obviously the charges of first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and then attempting to influence a public official. They also stated that they do not have a body. One of the first questions at the press conference was, well, how can you be certain that you have a strong case if you don't have a body? The sheriff and the district attorney basically said, hey, the affidavit for the arrest warrant has still been sealed. We're not going to discuss the facts of this case, as we would probably like to, simply for the fact that there are professional conduct limitations that prohibit us from doing that, but that they feel that there is enough evidence for them to feel confident enough to file charges. And it's going to be very similar to the Patrick Frazee case. For those who don't recall, Kelsey Barretts was the girlfriend, mother of the child for the father, Patrick Frazee. And Crystal Lee Kenny, the nurse, came and testified. So the prosecutor must believe that there is some evidence that they feel strong enough about to ultimately bring these charges and to, convict Barry Morphew. As the district attorney did state, and as I state all the time, we have to give everybody the presumption of innocence. Just because charges are filed doesn't necessarily mean that they can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Every murder case is much more difficult when there is no body. It's not impossible, but, maybe district attorneys are getting a little more bold after the Patrick Frazee matter, but it's very difficult to do so. I did also find that the district attorney defended law enforcement who've been working on this case, who she stated followed up every lead, and they said she stated that these are some of the finest law enforcement personnel that she's worked with in her career. And she basically said that a lot of people left them out to dry, let them rung them over the fire, so to speak, because they weren't moving fast enough. They weren't doing their job. And I think I can state with certainty, we never questioned the police officers. Our position has always been they just didn't think they had enough to do it. We think that they were very professional. They didn't comment on anything as it related to the case. The law enforcement did not during this time period, and even now it's somewhat limited. And, if they had enough, when they thought they'd had enough, enough evidence to charge the case, they would take it to the district attorney. And apparently within the last couple of weeks, they felt that they had enough to charge, and there must be something, probably statements by Barry Morphew, that they can probably show is inconsistent with what he has stated. That's gonna be more than likely the evidence. It's going to be a circumstantial evidence case. But guess what? As we've talked about before, the jury will receive jury instructions that direct and circumstantial evidence is treated the same way under the law. So, for example, if you look out the window and you see it snowing, you can say, oh, look, it's snowing. I see it. That's direct evidence. Circumstantial evidence is that you go to bed and there's no snow on the ground. You get up in the morning and you look out and you didn't see it snow. It's not snowing anymore, but there's snow on the ground. One could use circumstantial evidence that it snowed while you were asleep. You didn't have to see it, but it was a reasonable conclusion that can be drawn. Like I said, there's probably going to have to make several circumstantial inferences for this case because there is no body that's been recovered just as of yet. But it's not common. But do not forget the case literally just to the east there from Chaffee County, right there in Teller County. It was the case of Patrick Frazee. No body. They think they had some skeletal remains, maybe, but they also had an eyewitness saying, I helped dispose of her. That was the Crystal Lee Kenneth case, the lady who's out on parole right now. So that's where it stands right now. Barry Morphew will more than likely, since he's been arrested, if he was in for example, in Denver, he'd be seen by a magistrate judge tomorrow, say you are being advised. He would go to what they call a first advisement. Since tomorrow is Thursday, assuming they have a judge available, they should probably do a first advisement for Barry Morphew. And they will say you are being advised under Rule 5 that you have a right to remain silent. Don't say anything. Anything you say can be used against you. If there is going to be a plea in this case, it must be knowingly and voluntarily made, and you have a right to counsel. We'll see if counsel shows up to that first advisement. That's all the court will advise Barry Morphew of, and they will set, more than likely, since it is a murder in the first degree, they will set a no bond hold. Then they'll have a second advisement, usually within 72 hours. So I would anticipate next week. It's business 72 hours normally. And that's where we have the statute actually says the second advisement has to be done within a reasonable time. When you have courts that operate 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it's not a problem. When you have a much smaller jurisdiction, it's within a reasonable time. So I would anticipate formal filing of charges more than likely next week. Could be sooner, but more than likely next week. At that point, the affidavit for the arrest warrant should be released. And if Barry Morphew does not retain private counsel, he will be appointed a public defender. We know he recently sold the house. I think he sold the house, Indiana, where he used to live. So he's probably sitting on some cash. He's probably going to, get himself a legal team. Barry, call me. And, obviously the people I feel sorry for are the Morphew girls, Mallory and Macy. They had been, as far as we know, pretty much standing behind their dad that he had done nothing wrong. So it really makes you wonder if that's going to change anything or whether they're going to stand behind their father as well. But the district attorneys think they have enough to proceed. We'll continue to follow the case, and as news develops, we'll bring it to you and we'll explain it to you. It's going to be interesting. Yet again, a high-profile missing spouse case here in the state of Colorado. Just a hop, skip, and a jump in Crime Talk 1 right over there to Chaffee County. Gotta love Colorado. It's just always something going on. All right, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and we will bring you information as it develops. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.